Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Moseder here, and following the raid at the Fulton County election warehouse, the Democrats and the media have been in an absolute frenzy ever since, trying to guess, trying to speculate as to what evidence was presented to the magistrate judge that was so compelling it got the judge to authorize a search warrant for the FBI to go in and seize those materials. Everybody's been trying to figure out exactly what evidence does the Trump administration have. And in this video, I'm going to present to you what I think it is. Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that average Joe, red-bearded MAGA ginger Nick Moseder, that makes videos in his guest room, knows for an absolute 100% fact that Donald Trump has had in his possession for at least a period of 2 years bulletproof, outcome-determinative evidence of fraud from the state of Georgia. And while the affidavit is under seal and nobody has access to it because it's completely walled off from the public, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I am 99% sure that what I'm about to share with you is at the very least in part of the evidence that was presented to that judge. And how do I know this for sure? What makes me so confident? Well, because I followed the sequence of events. This didn't start with the FBI. This actually started with the DOJ being called on to intervene in a situation between Fulton County and the Georgia State Election Board. The Georgia State Election Board received evidence from a group of election integrity activists like Voter GA, Garland Favorito, Joseph Rossi, Kevin Moncla, David Cross, and others, all of which are people that I know personally and have spoken to directly. With the exception of Joseph Rossi, we've actually never spoken before. But they had evidence which they presented to the Georgia State Election Board, at which point the Georgia State Election Board started compelling Fulton County to produce records, which they didn't. And then the DOJ got involved. And so I have a pretty good understanding of, at least in part, the evidence that the DOJ has in its possession. And when you also consider the materials that they went in and seized, these are the precise materials which you would need to corroborate and validate that evidence. It's like a hand-in-glove situation. So I have an idea of the evidence that they have, and it just so happens that the materials that they went in and took are exactly what you would need to validate this over here. What I'm going to share with you guys today is actually a video that I did on Rumble 2 years ago, which has never been more relevant. Okay, this is a video titled Bulletproof Evidence Trump Won Georgia by 2,000 plus votes. And the content of this video, the evidence which we're going to talk about, I know for a fact that it was hand-delivered on a silver platter to Trump, and he almost went public with it before he took office again. He was going to do like an actual press conference and release the information to the public, but then I think some people in his corner, some attorneys, they told him, don't do that. Okay, go through the legal route, go through the legal process with this, and keep it on deck. But now's not the right time. So he had this evidence way back then, before he ever took office again. I know that for a fact because I know the people that delivered it to him. And he waited until now, okay? It's all becoming relevant again. This is so incredible. And I can't wait to share this with you guys. But I want to address something first, because I recognize that there's probably a lot of people. I mean, we've gained, I don't know, something like 17,000 new subscribers in the past few months. And there's a lot of people out there that don't know the history, they don't know the backstory. Well, following the 2020 election, myself and a group of others, we were like the guys that were amplifying and platforming the grassroots patriots, the data analysts, the people that had lawsuits against the various bad actors involved in rigging the 2020 election. Everybody from Garland Favorito in Georgia to Liz Harris and her team of canvassers in Arizona. We were interviewing all these people and the late, great Bill Bailey, who unfortunately passed away, but he was an amazing patriot. He had the lawsuit in Michigan. But we were amplifying and platforming these people. And then what happened was an article came out from the George Soros-funded Media Matters for America titled YouTube is Ground Zero for Fraudulent Election Audit Advocacy. And they listed all of our channels, and they basically said these are all the guys that are amplifying election fraud conspiracy theories. And here's yours truly right here, Nick Moseder. You know, at the time, I had over 1 million views that month. My average daily views were like 40,000 a day, and we were really making a difference. But the moment this article came out, all of a sudden, most of us, not everybody, but most of us got banned within like 24 hours. At which point, I went and tried to keep going on Odyssey and Locals and Substack and Rumble, and I was basically screaming into the void, and Telegram and True Social. I had like 7 different platforms which I was making videos and written content and just trying to keep going. But you'll see, this video, it got, 12,000 views or so, and it was one of my better ones. But for the most part, they just took our legs out from under us, and only recently they gave me my channel back. I submitted an appeal. I guess some changes happened in YouTube where they're allowing people like me back on the platform, and they gave me my channel back with 52,000 subscribers, and now we're back up and running, and just in the last month, we've gotten over 1 million views. So now what I want to do is I want to share with you something which I tried to get eyes on way back then, 2 years ago. I wanted this to go viral. I wanted people to see this, but unfortunately, I didn't have the platform or the means to do it. So now that, the raid is happening in Fulton County, now's the perfect time. And I want to show you guys that in this video, there's an audio message from a presenter, Kevin Moncla, who talks about how he has discovered and uncovered, along with others, outcome determinative, bulletproof evidence of fraud that Trump won the state of Georgia. And this evidence was later hand-delivered on a silver platter to Trump. Now, this is the very evidence which was presented to the Georgia State Election Board, which ultimately resulted in the Georgia State Election Board calling on the Trump DOJ to intervene and get involved because Fulton County wouldn't comply with subpoenas from the Georgia State Election Board. So the DOJ got involved based on the evidence that you're about to hear and ultimately executed a search warrant to seize the materials which would prove that this evidence was legitimate. Okay, so this evidence is very relevant to what's going on today, and so I want to show this to you guys, and I'm telling you, sooner than later, this is all going to come back around full circle, and it's going to be the talk of the town. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's go ahead and play the video.
Second complaint we have that is under investigation is the one that shows that there's 20,000 illegitimate votes that were added in the recount. 17,000 of them are missing ballot images. They just have the results, which is impossible. And then they have 3,125 duplicates that are included in the results. So they know this. We've documented it. The governor has reviewed our work and referred it to the state election board, who is trying to throw it away every day. So between those two complaints, it does result in a determinative amount, which yields a margin of victory for Trump and 2,000 votes, which is why they will not, they'll investigate it as long as they have to. It's literally the votes that Trump was looking for on the phone call and would destroy Fani Willis's prosecution. It's documented, bulletproof, undeniable.
And it's submitted as a matter of public record to the state election board.
Oh, yes. It is case 2023-025.
Okay, so you heard it directly from Kevin Moncla, and I want you guys to understand why this is such a big deal, because let's remember, Fani Willis and Jack Smith indicted Donald Trump and all the other co-defendants on the basis that they knowingly perpetuated the big lie that the election was stolen without any evidence to back it up, and tried to strong-arm state officials like Brad Raffensperger into overturning the rightful winner, Joe Biden, and his 2020 election victory, right? And this evidence that's sitting with the Georgia State Election Board, which has been confirmed as real and valid by Brian Kemp, is all that Donald Trump and all the other co-defendants need to vindicate themselves, prove their innocence, and at the same time, prove that the election, at least in the state of Georgia, was in fact stolen. Now, at the beginning of this video, I kind of alluded to the possibility that Trump was prepared to present this evidence at the press conference, which was later canceled. And I didn't just pull that out of my butt. I have good reason to believe that Trump and his legal team are in direct contact with these people and have this evidence in their possession and are prepared to submit it in court filings, along with much, much more. And that's why I was so excited to share this with you guys, especially considering what happened yesterday. I mean, this couldn't have come at a better time, and I'm very, very excited. So that was 2 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, and I was excited back then because I thought something was about to happen that never came to pass. But now action is actually happening, so you can imagine my excitement now. This all came full circle. You know, those of us that were persistent, those of us that held the line, it's happening. And so just to summarize, it's pretty cut and dry stuff. There was, a guy named Joseph Rossi who obtained the ballot images, which means, when you run a ballot through a machine, it gets scanned and a ballot image is created. Joseph Rossi, through a public record request, obtained all the images, and then he actually compared what the images show to what Brad Raffensperger reported in his hand count, because the hand count was actually publicized, so you could cross-reference the two. You could look at the hand count results, and you could look at the ballot images and say, do these match up? And the result was that there was actually 17,000 votes that were just completely fabricated. There is no ballot image to actually corroborate what Brad Raffensperger said was a legitimate vote. And there was over 3,000, I think it was close to 4,000 duplicate scans, meaning the same ballot was scanned multiple times. So there's at least 4,000 fictitious votes, and there was 17,000 votes created out of thin air. And Brad Raffensperger did that hand count to basically put all the claims to bed. People were saying that there was a problem with the machines, that the results were not reliable or trustworthy. So Brad Raffensperger commissioned a hand count, did the hand count on machines, then did an actual physical hand count, and claimed that the results matched the official totals. Well, that is not the case whatsoever. And it's already been proven. Joseph Rossi proved it, took the evidence, gave it to Brian Kemp's office. They gave it to the Georgia State Election Board, and at the time, it wasn't as conservative as it is today. In 2025, the Georgia State Election Board became a conservative majority, and so now they're actually listening to the evidence, and they're actually, they started trying to do something about it once conservatives took over the Georgia State Election Board. So all of this was basically memory hold and disregarded back then, but now it's all coming back. And so I wanted you guys to understand that it's not speculative stuff. There is actually cut and dry, black and white, bulletproof, outcome determinative fraud in Georgia that the Trump administration has in its possession. And these physical ballots, the ballot images, the voter rolls, the tabulator tapes, all of that stuff, when you compare and cross-reference it to the evidence that they already have, it makes it absolutely undeniable and verifiable and provable in a court of law, and charges are coming. Ladies and gentlemen, again, the magistrate judge agreed with the DOJ, the FBI, I should say, that there is evidence that a crime was committed. Took a look at the evidence and saw, looks like they commit a crime here. So if you don't think charges are coming, well, hang on to your hats, buckle your seatbelt, because you're going to be pleasantly surprised. If you're one of these black pillars, these doomers that thinks nothing's going to happen, I'm telling you guys, they have the goods. So ladies and gentlemen, I actually woke up this morning and got the idea to resurrect this old video from my Rumble channel from 2 years ago, because I have good reason to believe, from all my contacts and all the things that I learned along the way, that this is the very evidence that was in that affidavit, which was presented to the magistrate judge, which resulted in the search warrant. And so I wanted to share that with you guys. Anyways, be sure to like the video and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.